Alright, so I'm a lot happier with this now. As you can see, I've weathered the ever-loving hell out of it. Um, and so what I've done, and this is basically for me, is there's almost no point in dry brushing all the colors I did prior to this, because I'm going to end up dry brushing on top of it. So what I'm going to do is do the green, do the white, do the one trick. I was looking at the pictures of the whitewash, and the thing that, if you see here all the weathering, all of this is the wrong green. I was just trying it out. It's the chip stipple, and you know how the all the tank boxes come with these little bits of foam. Well, all I did was, you just dip it into there a little bit and then dry it off over there. That's the red I used to do the star. Never mind that. But basically, you use the corner of the sponge brush, especially once it starts to dry a little bit. You get a nice texture, and you just go over and you just go over, and it just turned out really really well. So the key will be, oh, and also if you noticed along the side here, I used a little bit of what the hell color is it? It's Games Workshop. It's Armageddon Dust. It's a dry brushing paint. It's not really a pigment, it's not really a paint, it's kind of in between. So there we go, so I tested it out over there. I'm really happy with it. Clearly the red star needs to be on before the weathering, and same with this green stipling action, needs to go on before the black, the Bidab black wash. I then went and dry brushed over it with just a little bit of white, and it really brought everything out. So now I'm happy with it. So there we go. That's what it's going to look like. Test model complete. That means I can work on these bad boys tomorrow. In fact, I might start on some tonight. So there we go. Test model is worth its weight in gold now, because I don't have to worry about anything else. I know how I'm doing these bastards. Alright, so ever onwards. Continuing on with the ISU 122s. As you can see here, I've got a platoon of 3 done. I still haven't inked the guys yet, but definitely, I don't know, I wasn't a big fan of having the tank drivers all in black. I know they have black helmets and everything, but all black, it kind of got lost, so I just used the Russian tunic brown, whatever the hell color it is. I think it's khaki gray. So they're going to match my men a bit more. Next, I'm going to be doing the IS-3s now, or sorry, IS-2s. At first glance, somebody who knows Russians will realize, hey, what the hell, there's an extra road wheel in here. Yeah, that's because these are actually KV-3s from the Mid-War Monsters box set. I don't know why, I just like the idea of a gigantic Soviet tank, a 100-tonner. And I guess this was one of many prototypes that led to the IS-2, and the stats for the gun are virtually identical, so I figured, what the hell. I'll go with something that's bigger than an IS-2 just to represent them. Now, the interesting thing is because the models aren't made anymore, I'm probably going to have trouble with, if you can see here, there's a casting defect where it's flat. I guess there was no, whatever the liquid pewter going into it just didn't come in all the way. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to somehow fix that. And at first I was going to get I was going to green stuff and try to sculpt the wheel, but then I figured, you know what, I'm going to need another objective anyways. I need some Soviet objectives. So I figured, what the hell, just grabbed a cheapo T-34 that I can wreck, put into a swamp. And what's nice is I'm just going to cut the tail end of one of these track sections, glued on the side, and see what happens from there. I'm going to also add hopefully a bunch of logs and stuff. I did some research at work, because of course I'm not going to do it at home. I should be painting at home. Did a bit of research and figured out why the Soviet tanks all have logs on the side. And that's when they would get stuck, they would use the logs as like a giant lever and have like 4 or 5 guys, up on it to try and pry like the tanks out of a deep rut or something like that. So I think that was kind of neat, and especially in like the spring, like the winter time, you would definitely need those for prying your tanks out of the deep snow if they've been sitting there for a while. So I'm going to add some of those to my IS2s and hopefully try to get them painted today. I've got it's a long weekend for us here in Canada, or in Ottawa at the very least, because of November 11th. So hopefully try to get this platoon done this week. All right, ciao. All right, so I have successfully put this this repair piece on here, so it looks all right. It'll look a lot better once there's mud slathered on there to to cover up the inconsistencies. And so now I'm just going to try to embellish my tanks a little bit. Another tip I have found, I've used for my German tanks a lot, is using just this. This was $5. It's like a tensor bandage. It's kind of self-sticky, but the cool part is you just cut it up into squares like this. And if you look real close, you can see that if you've ever seen the military style camo, where it's wires going this way with like nylon leaves going the other way, this material really looks a lot like it. You just roll it up, super glue it, and shove it on. I mean, this is a fairly long piece. You'd want a short piece for other tanks, but since these tanks are so gigantic, I'll be putting them on this long part right here. There's a good long spot for it, so these will go there. I've got a couple of those logs to try to unbog the tank. So and a couple extra bits and bobs that I'll just be throwing on here just for some flavor. So that should be that. Should be able to start painting these guys in about half an hour. That'd be great. Well, I'd like to say that I did a lot of progress this weekend. Here in Canada, we had Americans will call it Veterans Day weekend. Or not even Veterans Day. Yeah, November 11th, whatever. Americans call November 11th. We call it Remembrance Day. So I got the KV3s done, aka I'm using them as IS2s, whatever. And as you can see, the paint job, I mean, it looks ridiculous, but this is the way that I've seen them done. The only paint job these tanks ever had was literally, yes, it looks like the crew stood on top of the roof of the turret and dumped 4 or 5 buckets of house paint and watched it drip down the sides. But that's the way they were, so what can you do? I embellished it a little bit with the sloganry. This was a lot tougher to do than I thought. I thought that maybe I could, just grab a good one of these gel roller pens. It worked great on the white, but it just would not go on the green the way I thought it would. So I think if I had all white Soviet tanks, that pen idea would have worked swimmingly. However, the dark green really did not lend itself well. I mean, I guess it's used to writing the red on white, so not so good on dark colors. So anyways, this unit's done. I don't know if you can see it in the video, but I dry brushed all the green with a very light dry brush of white, and I read somewhere that if to make things look more wintry, a light dry brush of white and also making the base color darker helps out too. So that's why these tanks are a little darker green than they normally would be, just to give the the illusion of more winter action. And I've decided to, for my men, not to put them all on snow bases. I mean, it would look really cool, but the majority of our tables, like we've got some tables that are in the desert. So, I mean, I know the Soviet Union goes all the way to the far south of the Caucasus or whatever, and I know it's about the same latitude as northern Greece. So you get pretty far south. Not that I would imagine that the guys with winter camo would ever get there, but you never know. So basically, the reason why my camo's all dirty and such, it's springtime, but they just haven't repainted their tanks, so they've still got some winter action going. Lastly, now that I've reached this milestone, this is 540 points. If I paint one more of these bad boys for my IS-122s, that's 460. So that gives me a nice, neat 1,000 points. So the tournament that's in less than 2 weeks now has 1650 points. So I needed 650 points, and it turns out that if I take a Command T-34, I'm not going to actually use dead off, but a Command T-34, and then 6 T-34s, and then 5 T-34s. Yes, I got to make one from this box here. That's exactly 650. So yeah, I'm gonna have 12 tanks to paint in 2 weeks. So that's a tank a day. Excellent. So that's my plan. I have an hour here before I got to get ready for work. So I'm going to see how much, if I can get the assembly done. Oh, I also have to assemble the T-34 objective, so that's actually an extra T-34 to paint. So see what I can do in an hour, and then when I get home, try to not play any more Diablo and paint more. There we go. Alright, so not too bad. In about 40 minutes, I was able to put together this T-34. If you guys will recall, I had to cut one of the road wheels off the back end of one of these wheel assemblies to fix one of my IS-2s, which is... which one is it? I think it's this one. Yeah, it's not too bad. So in this case, I knew I was going to use it for an objective, which is why I bought this Veda one. So I've got a bunch of the dismounted crew guys from the really old T-34s. So I've got these guys running around like, you know, they threw a track, and there's a spare track piece, so this objective tells a story. Struggling to come up with an idea for another objective, never mind the fact that this is British. I've got way too many British objectives, so I figured I'd paint this up as a Russian plane. And I've got a tank guy. They've got the weird funky helmets, and he's got a pistol, so it's like that movie Behind Enemy Lines where, you know, the guy crashes his plane, he's got to defend himself, blah blah blah. So that's my second objective. So able to put together, this is one of the tanks from the boxed set, and as you can see, it comes modeled on with a bunch of stowage and extra crap, so I can't recommend that enough. I know PSC is cheaper and Zveda is even cheaper, but you know, there's some things that, you know, I'm not good with green stuff, so I can't even attempt to put that stuff on there. So this looks a lot better. I think there's some other equipment on here. It looks like a saw, like I guess to saw down trees to get them out of the way. And then I've got this is my command tank. It's hard to see, but there's the Soviet flag draped over the hull. So that's gonna be my command tank. So that is that. Tonight when I get home, I will have to spackle all this and then spray paint it and then get started. Alright, that's 2 minutes, so there we go. Off to work I go.